The good news is I'm not one of the fans that caused Coda to get over a $500,000 fine. That's it, that's my intro. Hey, I'm Amanda, you're watching Swell Entertainment, and today we are talking about the US Grand Prix, or Coda. This is a hat I made for Coda. I will not be wearing this the whole video, no, but this will end up probably in the background at some point, because I did work on this for over a month. And I got a lot of compliments from it. But yeah, today we were talking about Formula One in Texas. There are now 3 Grand Prix in the United States, but this is the US Grand Prix. All right, it's been the US Grand Prix for a while now. I didn't go last year because it was during TwitchCon last year, and I had just started my contract with them for streaming on Twitch. And I was like, I have to go. Like, I can't not go. This year, I will be going to every single United States Grand Prix. So I've already done Miami. I have now done the US GP at Coda, and I will be going to Vegas next month. I will force my motorsport brain rot onto my viewers. For those who don't know, last time I did a review, I talked about Miami and I focused on the F1 Academy of it all. And then when I went to Japan, I focused on Champions Club and all of that and like some of the extra special things that we got to do. This time around, I did drag Scootish with me again. Scootish is one of my streamer friends. I bullied him into going with me to Japan. For Japan, I did pay for his ticket because he was coming for my video. And then this time we did pay for our separate tickets, but we got the same ticket. The Japanese Grand Prix, I talked about Formula One experiences, okay? And that is where we also booked our tickets through this time around. So whereas for Miami, I just got general admission tickets and then ended up doing a little specialty lounge, which was not worth it. There is general admission here for the US Grand Prix as well. And then there is the grandstands and things like that. Now, I love sitting at the start-finish line. It's something that I really very much enjoy. Unfortunately, that was already booked out. So we decided, let's get a good spot, but like, let's try and get one of the fun experiences that like was more in line with what Scootish got. Where for Japan, we got him a grandstand ticket that actually came with a tour and things like that as well. That ended up happening Thursday night before the Grand Prix started. And then with the Champions Club, I got like a bunch of other stuff throughout the weekend, but not nearly as cool as what he got. I'm doing my full review for Coda here, but for those of you who don't know, I actually now have a second channel. Technically a third if you don't count the clips and podcast channel, but a second channel that is just girly pop, motorsports, and car content. Okay, it's called Girly Pop Go. It's linked down below. Go check it out. There's already videos up from the US Grand Prix on there, and there will be even more in detail, especially of the podium night that we got to do, because there's so much that happened in that night that it would be the entirety of this video, and I want to review the GP experience as a whole for this video, so this will still stay here, but more in-depth breaking things down of various experiences at Coda will be down on Girly Pop Go. Turn 19 comes at the end of a pretty decent high-speed straight, and then it's a section where a lot of people go off track. There's a lot of track limits violations, and then it's also, you have a clear view of turn 20, which is the last turn of the track before you go over the line. We can also, from where we were sitting, be able to see turn 1 and all of that. So it's already a fairly good spot to be at. This year, they did add coverage to parts of various grandstands. Where we were was covered as well. And then we had our turn 19 experience, the podium experience that we got, which I'll talk about more in a second. But in total with fees, our tickets per person were $1,700. I think that was basically the exact same thing that I paid for Scootish for Japan for his grandstand ticket and experience. And then comparatively for Champions Club, it was $4K. Now, Champions Club was as well here at Coda. I don't remember what it was. I want to say 6. I don't remember. I didn't check much, okay? Because I was like, I don't think I want to do Champions Club. Because like, I'm not opposed to Champions Club. Champions Club is fine, and like you do get stuff with it. But like the tour we got, we openly were told, like, this is the most behind the scenes tour that we do. Like, everyone fights over who gets to give this tour. So that's cool. Hang on, I want to get my hat. So I actually went out super early for Coda. I went out on Wednesday because I got invited to the S's Mag party hosted by Tony Cohen Brown and Lissy McIntosh. S's magazine is a new like culture, lifestyle, food, travel magazine all around racing. And they were doing their first issue as well there. And I got invited to that party. So I wanted to go out to that. And then Thursday, I was Neha's +1 to the McLaren Levi party. Between the two, I had a better time at S's, but S's fed me. There was more space. It was more suited to that style of party. The Levi's pop-up venue was the pop-up venue, and it was very crowded and cramped. But I got a free shirt and got my initials embroidered onto a bandana. Friday was obviously practice and everything day. Now Thursday, you can also go and try and do a, I think a track walk, pit walk as well at Coda. I did not hear about that until it was already happening, and so I didn't even try and get over there. I believe that is mostly open to semi-public, I think, if you have a ticket for the track, okay? Now, we ended up staying near the airport. Good and bad decisions in that, okay? Because everything, all of the pop-ups, all the events, all of that's not at the track are going to be happening in downtown Austin. So for us, it was always going to be a track. The pickup locations for the shuttle, downtown Austin. So originally what we were going to do, we did get shuttle tickets. We never actually ended up using the shuttle because it was like, do we want to take another Uber down there to then go sit in more traffic in a shuttle and all of that? So what we did end up doing was just taking Lyfts and Ubers the entire time we were there. Was it a nightmare sometimes? Yes. Was it seemingly any worse than the shuttle experience? No. We would have been in an Uber at some point anyway, so it just didn't really matter. If I were to do this again, I probably would just stay downtown because I do think that I really kind of ignored a lot of the fun pop-ups that they were doing, different teams and brands and things like that were doing in downtown because I didn't want to get back in the car and like go and do all that again. So I would probably just go and stay downtown again if I were to do this again. The lot that they drop you off and pick you up from for Lyft and Uber is about a 10-minute walk to the entrance of the track. It is a track. They do have a shuttle. Friday, practice day, Porsche Carrera Cup happening. They had the Historics cars out. Very nice, very cool. This track is huge. Now, everyone had warned me before. They were like, oh no, this track is big. I was like, oh, I did like Suzuka and Miami. And Miami, I famously dislike the Miami track. It's laid out horrifically, okay? This one is bigger than all of those. Japan? No. This one? Massive. Insane. Kind of a nightmare if you don't know what you're doing. Me and Scootish thought it would be fun to try and go to the Lando Lawn pop-up for Lando Norris that they were doing. They were doing like a collab meetup thing at like Turn 1 lawn. Okay, there's general admission lawn. Side note, general admission, if you're going to choose between Miami or the US Grand Prix, choose Austin for general admission fully because this is also a track that is just laid out much better. And so general admission, you can see quite a lot of the track. So we hiked from way over there all the way around.
You can see our seats.
All up here to the
Our seats
lawn.
are literally right there. You can see them.
This is the turn one. The elevation is crazy. This is the turn one lawn for general admission. We did it. In certain spots, there are better screens. I do think there needed to be more screens around the track because where we were, I could see two screens that were like sitting right here. Okay. But then like nothing that way. But then also their speaker system, also bad. Miami had the same issue with like the speakers being bad. At least in Vegas, I could hear everything. I didn't like what I was hearing, so I listened to the radios. But like if we didn't have the Amex radios this time around, we would not have been able to hear any of the commentary. Like it was such a low volume. I don't know how to fix that other than maybe a new speaker system. Plenty of spaces to get a good view. I have photos, Turn 1 lawn where we hiked for the Lando lawn. We are currently heading to the Turn 1 lawn to see the Lando lawn. I went to like the second group meetup because the first one was like further and like one, getting there kind of a nightmare, but two, everyone was like sitting down on the floor in a circle and it felt awkward. So we didn't even walk up to them because we were like, this feels weird. We're not in Lando merch. We should just keep going. So then we walked up around. We tried to walk as much of this track as we could. We did give up at a certain point because we made a wrong turn. So Saturday, we did not wander much at all outside of our section, basically. We did not go back to that hiking spot. We did not go back up around turn 1. We did not explore any further. But then I had been looking at the map and I was like, oh, we didn't pass like the Sports Illustrated Club. Club SI, okay, is a Sports Illustrated thing that they did in Vegas as well. And so when I saw that it was Austin, I was like, okay, I want to go at least walk by and see like what their viewing experience was. And I had met one of my viewers who said that they were at the terrace and things like that. So I was like, we haven't gone the opposite way when we enter into the park. We kept going toward the right and then going around versus going the opposite direction. That is where we had much easier time getting to the ranch and things like that. It's still quite the hike, I should note, regardless of which way you go, even if you know where you're going. It's a massive track. It is a lot of walking. I have a blister between two of my toes. I still don't know how I did that. It's a lot of walking. So again, comfortable shoes, okay? Leave the heels at home. We had to go up to turn 1 anyway because the turn 1 space is where the Champions Club was, which is where we were told we were going to have to meet up for our podium experience on Friday. We'll talk in a second. Hold on. Oh God. You know, here in Texas at the US Grand Prix, they really do have it all. We've got pickleball and we've got Zen. But we did find the ranch. They were not doing the Sphere of Death thing when we were over there. A couple of different pop-ups there. They had a whole tourism section over there as well. They had, you know, some more of the cards out and things like that. So more food options, much easier to get to the food spaces there too as well. Something that I was very disappointed about was the food situation in COTA. There's a lot of beer options, a lot of drink opportunities. Food, good luck. Bathrooms, have fun. At a certain point, like without fail, it felt like each day there would be times where like even the porta potties would run out of all toilet paper and paper towels and everything. There would be times where the bathrooms, especially for the women, would be no less than 100 people long. Like I trekked everywhere on Sunday specifically trying to find a bathroom. No luck. Food lines, often very long, and then the food would be meh, frankly. So that's sad. When you're a sporting venue, which is what this is, I judge you fully on your soft pretzel game. I love soft pretzels. I will judge you based off your soft pretzel game. And so I was devastated to wait in line for a pretzel and then get a very sad, dry pretzel. It was sad. I literally made someone take a photo of me because I was like, I need a photo of me with this sad pretzel. It looked like it would be good. And then that's almost worse. I was devastated. Something that I think would really help the situation is they need more food cart spaces. The same way they have all the beer and alcohol things with coolers, like just having spots where it's like popcorn, pretzels, churros, something, I don't know, like various little carts like that are sprinkled around the place, I think would very much help with cutting down the lines for food and things like that, because the lines were just always crazy and waiting long waits. Friday night though is when we got our podium experience. So this is all in one night, unlike with the Champions Club where my things were spread out. This was all the same night. And so we had to go and meet them outside of Champions Club. They were not clear as to where, so there was a lot of games to telephone for my Japan video. I complained because one of the things that we got was a grid walk, but our grid walk time was a horrible time. It was after qualifying was done. For those who don't know, in F1, there is quite a lot of curfews. Teams, drivers, all of that cannot touch or work on the cars in a certain period so that they don't get a penalty. When I was in Japan, they had us do our track walk, not even a pit walk, like a track walk, a grid walk, 12 minutes before that deadline. So all the teams were gone. Most of the cars were covered. This was similar time frame where it was about 20 to 30 minutes before the end of curfew. But because it's so early in the weekend, it was a bit better. Cars were being worked on, which was cool. We got a pit lane walk. We got to go up to the actual podiums themselves and get photos of us on the podiums. They gave us the first place Pirelli hats. They gave us champagne as well. They had a photographer taking photos of us, Kim Illman. Funny, I recommend him to you guys on occasion because he is also a fellow YouTuber that makes videos about F1, and I think it's good for crash courses. He did like my hat. He was like, oh, you got all the drivers on there. The photo that I get, it's either gonna be in this hat or it's gonna be in this hat. I don't know. They usually give you one. Obviously, I'm me, so I'm nosy. And Scootish is a streamer, but he's also a producer for other streamers, okay? So we were both really excited to see the control room for the Grand Prix, where they have all the screens and everything set up. We were so excited to see that. And then we didn't get to because they were filming in there. I don't know if anyone else in the various groups, because they broke us up into all the different groups. I don't know if any other groups got to go in there, but we did not, which was a bummer. But then we got to walk more of the pit lane, and then they brought us through to the paddock. Okay, so the paddock is the other side of the garages between hospitalities and garages. The hat looks crazy.
Little miss.
Every time I let him wear the hat.
Please don't say my hat's crazy.
Every time I let him wear the hat, he puts on this really bad Southern accent. Walk up, get into vans that then drove us up to turn one, where we got to hear a detailed explanation about how all the cameras work inside of a broadcast and hear a little bit more about the broadcasting side of things. Got to meet the safety car driver and get a tour of the safety cars. Fun fact, every race I've been to this year has had a safety car. Is it me? We got to go and check out also a little bit of the Haas garage. Then we were let out. So again, more in depth of everything in that will be on Girly Pop Go. Okay. But that all in all, like that started at like 6:30. We didn't leave the track until closer to 11. The thing about F1 experiences that I always think I want to implore you, obviously I'll make a full video on this, but still, please read in depth every single thing that they say is included, just because I feel like people assume, oh, paying the most gets you the most. But then even then when we were waiting to go and do our tour, people in the Champions Club was like, well, what's that? We want to do that, you know? And it's like, they don't get this tour. We do, you know, even though they spent way more money than us. So it's just something to keep in mind and look at. Sprint racing qualifying for Saturday. Saturday, we ended up leaving early. Saturday. You see, I got invited to a Clarence event and Scootish was my +1. It also was very hot and I felt very gross. And I was like, I don't want to go to a nice beauty event feeling sticky and dirty. I want to shower. We ended up leaving just into qualifying, but we did watch all of it from F1 TV. Okay, not sponsored or affiliated at all. The sprint was good. I like the sprint. Max doesn't like sprints, which is why he won the sprint, which is fun for me. Again, we didn't walk much at all, bumped into a couple more viewers. We didn't do any buying much most of this weekend. I bought a few things on Friday. The thing about Grand Prix merch as well, like I bought a lot of things in Suzuka because Suzuka had a lot of really cool like track specific merch that was associated with the track versus like the F1 stuff. The thing that I don't like about a lot of F1 merch with Grand Prix is that the things that they do, like the pop-ups, the new collaborations, a lot of the new merches, a lot of it that they announced leading up to the Grand Prix, they don't have at the Grand Prix at their stands. Like they have like, oh yeah, hey, we did a hat for the US Grand Prix with an American flag on it. The only one that I think did like a really cool merch drop was Haas. They did like a Haas hot sauce, like American hot sauce thing, t-shirt style that I liked. That was really it. Porsche Carrera Cup, God, they had some gnarly crashes. There was one car on Sunday specifically. I don't even know how it happened. I think it hit a curb and then it went sideways, slid on its side and then landed back on Instagram, but I was like, oh God, that must suck, you know, like just to, because what are you going to do when your car is on the side screeching down? Nothing. That's not even a hold the wheel situation. You're fucked, you know, like that's crazy. Porsche Carrera had a crazy amount of crashes. I should also note there were musical guests each night. There was this whole bit of drama as well where people were canceling their general admission tickets and only, I think it was one-day general admission tickets for Saturday got you into the Eminem concert. Well, there were quite a few people that apparently only went for the Eminem concert, so Saturday was a bit hectic, more than just Sunday, as it is with the race day. But I do want to note that compared to like, let's say, Miami was always pretty crazy. Japan, the practice days were pretty quiet. There was always still like a good amount of crowds there. Here it was perpetually crazy. Friday was busy and then I was like, wow, this is a lot of people. And then Sunday was worse. And then there are still people that do just go to the races. They don't go to practice or qualifying or anything like that, which to each their own. I want to see cars on track. I don't care what it is. All right, we just got to the drop-off zone for Uber and Lyft and we were complaining because there's like no Red Bulls out here. We had to go get these from our hotel. But what they do have is Heinekens. And so again, it's not even 11 yet. And Scoot's like, I'm gonna get a Heineken. And then it's like, wait, there's no alcohol in it. Editing Amanda here. It is almost midnight as I am getting this done. But fun fact about this, I don't think I got a clip of this at the end. I sent photos to a bunch of people. But at the end of the race, they were basically just giving out the zero alcohol Heinekens by the case. People were taking the cases just to have something to sit on while they waited for their Lyfts and Ubers. Listen, I don't even drink, but you know what people love? Hot beer that also has no alcohol in it. Race day. Okay, so the race wasn't until 2. Driver's parade was, I believe, at noon, and then 1:45 was the national anthem. The driver's parade, they got lifted trucks to have the drivers in. Is this the drivers? Wait, are they gonna be in trucks? Wait, that's insane. When I tell you that barely any of the men in my life like Formula One, I mean it, because tell me why my editor William keeps using clips of the Porsche Carrera Cup every time I talk about F1. Qualifying, George went off track, okay, which calls for the session to end. So no one was going to get in their flying laps, which means that Lando kept his lap, which kept him in P1. Did I have a feeling that Lando was going to win? No. I will be honest, okay? Lando is currently second in the Drivers' Championship, and he has had quite a lot of issues with maintaining his lead through the whole first lap, okay? Specifically, lap 1, turn 1, okay? And this turn 1 for Coda is insane. It is on a pretty steep incline, and then it is a pretty steep decline into another turn, into turn 2. It's kind of a nightmare turn, and quite a lot of overtaking and such was happening there, so I was not hopeful he was going to maintain that lead, especially because Max was in, I believe, P2, and Max had won the sprint, so I was like, Max is kind of sort of remembering who he is. Max is currently in P1 in the championship, and Lando has, as far as I can tell, has only been able to get 1 point off of him since he moved up into P2. Like the gap, there's still time, but also he needs Max to be performing way worse, and he needs to be winning constantly in order to win. I was already expecting that, and then the start happens, And then not long after, Charles reminded everyone who the fuck he is and just zoomed through and took the lead of the race in the Ferrari. Which is funny because I had a feeling that the Ferraris were going to do really well this week. My boys, one of them doesn't win this week, I'm gonna be annoyed. But also I do think it would be really, really funny if Charles wins. Because they were the only teams that did not bring upgrades this weekend. Both Mercedes did also have upgrades. However, when George crashed into the wall during qualifying, he had to then be moved down to a lower spec car. Okay, so like the last car that they had basically. And Lewis Hamilton, his teammate, offered apparently to give him his upgrades because he did not like the upgrades. Sure enough, that may have been the right move because not long into the race, right in front of us at turn 19, Lewis hit the curb, spun out, and ended up in the wall and caused a safety car. So a safety car is a car that comes out and basically slows down the entire grid, okay, as they're going around. No one can pass, no one can overtake the safety car, no one can overtake each other. It keeps the grid in place while they are safely removing the car. Now, if it so happens that the crash happens and it's on track, there's debris everywhere, things like that, that is where there would be a red flag and they would bring all the cars in. And then there would probably be like a restart. In this instance, because Lewis's car ended up off track, he was able to exit the track safely. They were able to remove the car safely. It was just a safety car. They get the car out. Very cool watching them crane the car out, by the way, from where I was. I got to see everything. I got everything on camera. I loved it. Sorry, Lewis, but I got to see cool things. What happens is during a race, you don't have to do a pit. What you have to do is use two separate tire compounds during a race. So during a race start, like let's say Monaco, where there's probably going to be a crash, you start on a medium tire because then if there's a crash early on that causes a red flag, you can then pit during the red flag into a hard tire and then you can stay on the hard tires the rest of the race. Instances like this, the move typically is to start on a medium tire and then go to a hard tire to bring you to the end of the race. That would be a one stop, which quite a few people try to do one stops in this instance. Run stops have been good and bad this season. Okay, there's been some good ones. There's been some that have allegedly led to disqualifications because of weight issues and things like that. In some instances as well, what you'll have is someone is doing a one stop, but then they want fastest lap. Okay, so it's like the fastest lap of the race towards the end. If you are in the top 10, you get a bonus point for fastest lap. That's where you'll see last minute, like a driver will pit and put on soft tires with like 2 laps to go, just so they can get the fastest time. Esteban Ocon got fastest lap this time around. Franco Colapinto had things to say about that one because it was his before then. This race as well, I should note, Liam Lawson is back on the grid. This is his first time back as a full-time F1 driver. He was a reserve driver last year when Daniel Ricciardo broke his hand, and he is now replaced Daniel Ricciardo at VCARB with Yuki Tsunoda. What happens is it sounds like RB was at risk of losing Liam Lawson if they didn't put him in a seat as a reserve driver, and that he would have freedom to go to another team or go and do basically anything else. So they didn't want to risk losing him, so they put him into the seat and they took Daniel Ricciardo out. Does that mean that Daniel Ricciardo is out currently? Yes, he was not at the GP. He still did his Enchante pop-up, which is his company outside of F1, but he was not there. But Liam did very well this weekend. He got into a little bit of a tiff with Fernando Alonso, which honestly terrifying. I don't know how I would deal with Fernando Alonso being mad at me and telling me, you know, it's not my career on the line. Like, I don't know what I would do, honestly. Vaguely terrifying. Liam handled it well. He did get points, and then he also did outscore Yuki. At one point, Yuki was very upset. He came on the radio twice to be like, how did this happen? Because he was not supposed to pit behind Liam or something. Like, Liam ended up in front of him at one point, and Yuki was very upset about it, which understandable. They are now essentially both fighting for the potential Red Bull seat next year. Right now, Sergio Checo Perez is currently in the Red Bull seat for next year, but there has been a lot of speculation about whether or not he will maintain it for 2025. Red Bull has made comments about both Yuki Tsunoda and Liam Lawson about potentially them going into that Red Bull seat next year. So both of them are fighting for a seat at their sister team, top team. So we'll see what ends up happening there. I will not be surprised if they're with 5 races left to go, if this will get messier. All in all, though, Charles ended up winning. We got a Ferrari 1-2, first time since, God, what did they say, 2008? That doesn't sound right. I gotta double check. But we had a Ferrari 1-2, which was very fun. And I will say, as a McLaren girly pop, okay, as much as I would love to see a McLaren World Championship, I would also very much like to live through a Ferrari World Drivers' Championship. I do think that would be very fun to see because Tifosi are very dedicated. Okay. Also, I should note as well, me and Scooters were sitting around a lot of Checo fans. Checo fans, very fun, very excited. Like they were regularly getting Checo chants going. Very fun. This was also my first race where I got to do a track invasion. There's a possibility that, like I said in the opening, Coda actually ended up getting a €500,000 fine for fans entering the track before all the cars were in. So sometimes tracks allow track invasions where fans are allowed to storm onto the track where the cars just were to surround the podium for the celebration and everything and get in and celebrate and like walk the track and things like that. Vegas did not allow that. Vegas, I hope you change this because this was dumb last year, frankly. Miami, I can't remember. Japan, they had it, but we had to get to the shuttle. So we actually left before we could do this. There was like no easy way for us to get over there. And then this time around, we were right by one of the entrances at turn 19. So we really wanted to do it. And what happened though is that while some of the cars were still on their warm down lap, after the race is done, they slow down a little bit. They pick up some rubber for their tires and things like that. Some fans dropped down onto that grid from turn 1, I believe, okay, before all the cars were in, which could easily kill people. I think a few years ago, Australia actually lost their ability to allow track invasions because this happened. This time, I don't know if that will happen with Coda, but currently they were given a €500,000 fine. They only have to pay, I believe, 160,000 of that. And then it's like delayed as long as it doesn't happen in the next like 3 years, I think. And they don't have to pay the rest. So the fine is there though. So it's like if this ever happens again, it's a problem. If there is other issues, they could lose their ability to allow track invasions. So that's that. But I got to do a track invasion, which was fun. We weren't there in time for the podium, but like we got to go walk on track. I vlogged the whole experience. If you want to go see that, it's on Girly Pop Go. I know this sounds like a big ad for Girly Pop Go, but like, I don't know. I'm trying to do multiple things at once because I'm insane. All right, we have officially left the track. We're gonna start, I don't know, finding a bathroom. That would be great. That'd be a move. Would I do Coda again? Yes, I would. I would do it differently. Something that F1 Experiences seemed to have that I can't remember who was advertised was they had a lounge, like an F1 Experiences lounge near the Champions Club. I don't think we got access to that, but I'm really curious how much more that would have been if we added that onto our ticket, because having a place to go indoors, I think would have made this weekend much more bearable. Because there were times where I'm like, I think I'm just exhausted from this heat. And like the heat wasn't arguably that bad. It was nothing worse than like what we're experiencing here in California with the heat waves we've been having in October. Some days it was cooler. It was like borderline breezy Friday. It was beautiful. It was wonderful. I kept putting my jacket on. I kept getting cold. It was wonderful. But I do just think having a place to go inside as well, because there was also just dirt in like the fan zone areas and things like that. So there would be times where I was like, I'm just covered in a fine layer of dirt and I just felt gross. So having a place indoors to hide would be lovely. I would do this track again. I would also do general admission. I would just do general admission. I think would be really fun with like a group of people, like getting a group together at like turn 1, having like a little picnic thing set up or something like that would be really fun. But like the general admission situation, I think is just by and away so much better than Miami, frankly. Do I like this better than Miami? Yes, because this was hot. Miami was gonna kill me, okay? Miami was not fun at all. But Florida and Texas both hate me, okay? I'm one of those people, if I have to move to another state for tax reasons like all those other YouTubers do, I'm gonna have to go to Nevada. I have to go to Vegas. Vegas is going to be my home Grand Prix. Let's go, okay? Would I do our grandstand seats again? Yes, I would. That was a very great seat. Like turn 19, amazing spot to sit. Podium experience, amazing. Bring a backpack. They do allow umbrellas. They allow camel packs. There are places to fill up your water bottle stations. I do wish there could be more, but they did exist, so I will count that. Bathroom situation. They had quite a few porta potty situations, but it would be good if they were being, restocked. You can bring snacks in, but nothing too crazy. There was this one day we walked in behind this dad that had like a clear backpack and it was just stuffed to the brim with like prepackaged little baggies of snacks for him and his kids. Brilliant. Can't bring any coolers in, but you can bring like backpacks and snacks and things like that, which I definitely would do again if I were to do this again. The Amex radios, totally would do again. I really do like the Amex radios. There's something like, I'm someone who, I like hearing commentary. Yes, I like hearing the cars on track, but I also like hearing things that I can't see, especially if the screen situation is not great. I like being able to hear what's going on and things like that, especially if I don't have a good view of the track. So Miami, I would have liked, did they have Amex radios in Miami? I don't think so. Will I be becoming a cowgirl? No. Was this a nightmare to do? Yes. Did I do it? Yes. Do I have to fill in a couple of rhinestones that fell off? Yes. You know when I knew this was worth it? On the plane heading out there, because I just had this in my lap, A little girl looked at it in awe, and I was like, oh, I did the right thing. I was smart. It was the move. Have you ever been to the Circuit of the Americas? Have you ever been to the USGP? Have you been to any Formula One GPs? Are you annoyed that I have motorsport brain rot? Let me know. Comment down below. Reminder, I stream on Twitch. Reminder that Swell Entertainment is now available on Spotify. Reminder, use code SWELL for 10% off on gamer subs. Oh, side note, there was no Red Bull. This was a Celsius only track, and even then I could not find Celsius. No Red Bull. No energy drinks that I could find. I don't have a caffeine problem, not at all. Anyways, use code SWELL for 10% off on gamer subs. Shout out to my channel members. If you'd also like to join memberships, you can go ahead and click join down below. If you'd like to follow me on social media, that'll be all up here, and that's going to be it. Have a lovely day. Vroom, vroom. I also got to spend a lot of the weekend trying to convince all the motorsport TikTokers that I ran into that they need to be on YouTube. So I did good.